What is doing? I hate doing it, but I want everyone to like, subscribe, follow us on our Instagram, hit the subscribe button right there. One click, it's totally free. It helps the channel grow. Share the content, comment, do all that good stuff. Help us keep bringing you 3,000 podcasts. Now to the guest. Cheers.
3,000.
What is doing? My name's Maloney. This is the 3,000 podcast. I'm joined today by a very requested guest. I have Peril, who is a DJ, producer, musician, record collector, hip-hop head. Man, you do it all. Peril, thanks for coming. You are a very requested guest, and we've got so much history to talk to about Graff. We can talk about music, hip-hop culture, the early days, everything.
Hip-hop and funk.
That's
where I'm at.
That's where it's at.
To me, that's where I'm at.
That's where we're at. All right. Well, let's talk. Let's start in the beginning, man. Whereabouts in Melbourne did you grow up, and how'd you get involved in this crazy hip-hop thing, man?
Bulleen. And as a B-boy.
Mm-hmm.
B-boy first, B-boy culture first. And I was in a group called Boogaloo Breakers with my brother Simon Kempstar, that was in 1200 Techniques, the guitarist.
Yes.
And a couple of other guys. And we were just sucking in all the 80s vibes from the beginning.
Uh-huh.
You know, whatever we saw, you know, Ripley's Believe It or Not, That's Incredible, New York City Breakers, Dynamic Rockers, Rocksteady Crew. That was our looking up to people.
Uh-huh.
And around that, there was graffiti in the backdrop. You know, Doze from Rocksteady Crew was TC5, you know, he was the writer and he did all the covers for Up Rock and on the Rocksteady Crew front cover. So we were mimicking a lot of that. Mm-hmm. And as was everybody else that I see from that era.
Yeah.
80, 83, 84.
That was your entree into the whole culture.
That's how it was. You know, that's whatever we saw. And then of course, it's got to be like in the order of music, it's got to be because the music ties in with everything else. It's The Message 82, Buffalo Girls 83, and then there was the Rocksteady Crew because they bought the album out because they went on the Australian tour.
Yeah.
And then
did you see them? How old are you? Like 12 then?
I'm 14 in 84.
1484. Born in 1970.
1970. Boom.
Right.
And you know, we didn't have much. There was nothing to look at. There was no Subway Art out yet. Remember, no Subway Art. Mm-hmm. Henry Chalfant, you know, nothing. And we saw Buffalo Girls with graffiti. Mm-hmm. It had Dondi, all these. So these are the guys that painted our picture of what graffiti was before we knew exactly what it was.
It was just some crazy, colourful thing.
Snippets of Futura 2000, snippets. We saw some doco from Brim because UK got the hip hop vibe a couple of years before us.
Hence Malcolm McLaren.
Right, so 82, Brim, the writer, you know, one of our heroes, he went to England, did a big doco. And we saw that doco after the fact.
Ah.
So we got snippets. It was all docos,
right.
You know? The breakies, they were on docos. There was no exact show yet.
Right. You could just see bits on
bits and pieces. But like that was our crew. And we saw Beat Street, well, Breakdance, I think was it just out a month before Beat Street. And they were all the movies that we were getting influence from, dress-wise, graffiti-wise. Beat Street probably more than breakdance in some respects, but depending where you're from. Mm-hmm. Some of the guys that came from the funk scene might say they're more breakdance because it was a bit more, you know, because you got to understand, before 83, 82, there's no hip-hop. Mm-hmm. 82, it's funk and boogie. Mm-hmm. Disco.
Yep.
Disco dancing.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Disco dancers became pop lockers. Pop lockers got a B-boy in their crew, all become a B-boy crew. So it's 82, 83, 84. 84's Beat Street breakdance. That's the heyday of the start of the breakdance movement, I suppose worldwide, if you want to put it like that. Uh-huh. Commercially.
It was happening in New York before that, obviously.
Of course it was happening before New York.
But we couldn't see it here.
You know, 73, they say, you know, onwards, you know, Cool Herc and all that. Yeah. That's where we come from too. And we just got snippets of it, and then we took it from there. And you know, the breakdance crews, like I said, were the graffiti artists. Uh-huh. And the graffiti artists were the breakdance crews to a large extent. Some weren't, but the majority, half of them were. My crew down Box Hill, yeah. You know, they put up, you know, all the breakdance sort of graffiti. So just, you know, there was the Buffalo Girl style Rockby Girls at Box Hill. You know, Aria and Shabu, all these cats, right?
Right.
They were eating and drinking what we were eating and drinking It was the same.
Same.
We got them.
So you and Kempster are Boogaloo Force, what we call
Boogaloo Breakers.
Boogaloo Breakers.
I was on the way here. I just thought I always think of something else. But it just comes from nowhere because I haven't got the best memory. I got to admit, Paris got a way better. What up, Paris got a way better memory. I'm going to talk about you later. And then I remember we did a breakdance thing for a priest that came down at Dallas Brooks Hall.
Wow.
In '84. When I was still going to school,
So it was proper breakdance stuff. It's not just you guys in your cardboard. It's like you were in a crew doing gigs.
But we were doing the cardboard and the gigs.
Yeah.
We just any chance we could do breakdancing, we were there. At the Lygon Street Festa, whatever it might be. We were just up
Blue
for
Light
it.
Discos, was that
Blue
happening?
Light Discos, baby. The Veneto Club, of course, in Bulleen.
Right.
Where was our stomping ground?
Is that like an Italian club?
An Italian club, Italian tennis club. And we were practicing there every Friday night with my crew, Euro Break Force.
Euro. So you all got different
Doesn't get much more
nationalities.
woggy than that, sorry.
That's wogged out.
I look back now, I'm like, yeah, it's wogged out, exactly. So we were practicing there. And then the other crew that was, we ended up challenging from, the Vivo Boys breakers from Bulleen with Frost and Harry, all those boys, and Albie. We battled them at Shopping Town, at Shoppo, Doncaster Shopping Town, Friday night. We lost to them. They had the crowd participation. Everyone liked them a little bit more than us. They did the crowd
Is there
participation.
a stage there, or how's it work?
Stage, we're talking 4,000 or 5,000 people just look. We're talking at the prime of breakdancing, the pinnacle, the peak.
The peak
Breakdance, Beat Street, And then Energy Transfer had won the we're going to talk about Countdown, Molly Meldrum.
Yeah.
Guy put Australian music on the map.
He did.
Now, I don't want to say anything bad. Over at Molly's now, people have their thoughts of Molly. He's done a couple of silly things, whatever. I'm thinking Molly back then. I'll always think of Molly back then. Molly was a shaker and mover. He hooked up everybody.
Yep.
So he had a lot to do. He put the flash... Here we go. Flashdance is the first movie that got the props, commercial music, for having breakdancing. Had Rocksteady Crew and all that in there, right?
Yep.
And they had a flash dance competition. Countdown flash dance competition.
What year is this?
83.
Fuck.
83. Right. Before the 84 Beat Street one. Right?
And this is where the term rap dance was sort of coined?
Totally.
Yeah.
Right?
Because all the older people used to say rap dance when I was a kid. Yeah.
The 82 guys I talked about, they were into the funk and boogie and disco. Then they had to change lanes a little bit or get with the next program, which was the pop locking.
Yeah.
The Soul Train sort of thing. Soul Train got a lot to do with everything too. The Soul Train dances.
But that was never televised here.
Exactly. It was never televised. So we used to go to people's place that had VHSs that got it from overseas, and we dub a dub off a dub off a dub, which is the same thing we did with Wild Style, Star Wars, as a BBC, the BBC, England, UK. That's where we got the first dub of all those movies. No one had an original VHS in a cover, snap tight, nothing, right? It was so bad. You should have seen, it was that funny sort of hazy sort of line going up before it started. Sometimes halfway through, it would fade in, fade out.
Dubbed so many times.
Dubbed so many times. But that's how it was. So that's all we had to go. This is all pre-Subway Art, because Subway Art's very important.
Very important.
So...
When's that come? 86 or something?
About 86, 85,
yeah.
And then there was Energy Transfer, the B-boys we looked up to. Energy Transfer, Lino. We're up to Lino. Backstreet Boogie. They were on Hey Hey Saturday.
Wow.
On the semi-regular. At the peak of when he broke down, 84 again.
Yeah.
They would be on there with Joey Peroni, all those guys, so that's what we were looking at. That we used to watch that a lot on Sundays to see that. And, of course, Countdown. The National Beat Street Awards they put on after Flashdance, right? And you can see the difference in the styles. It was more dancing going Flashdance, and then when Beat Street hit, it was more break. But we're talking Australia-wide. It was an Australian-wide thing. They had one in from Tassie team, they had the Perth team, and Australia Energy Transfer Melbourne won.
And what were they calling it? It was a calling breaking then?
It was the Countdown Beat Street Awards.
Countdown Beat Street Awards, right. And look, like you said...
And they got down Rocksteady Crew to compare the show.
Wow.
So that was part of the... you know, their, what do you call, publicity for the movie. They just made it all happen. But Molly made it happen.
Yeah.
You know?
No, Molly did a lot, man.
Molly did a lot, man. They'd forget Molly.
And I think when he did do some silly shit, I think mentally he wasn't quite there. He'd
No.
also fallen off a ladder. So there's a lot of stuff. Who knows what he did in the past? We don't know. But he did a lot of positive stuff for
Well,
music.
me and Leno did a track, and we put Molly at, LP Boogie. We did a funk track during COVID, and we got Molly on the film clip at the start. But he's got this speech impediment because he had, the strokes and everything else,
And he probably had a lot of substances over the years. Who knows?
But Molly looked after us too when we did 1200s. He wanted to meet us, went to his place, saw his Egyptian artifacts, and had a good talk with Molly's a good dude, man.
Yeah, it's a shame that he's sort of lost his
like I said, let's remember him as the Molly, the shaker and mover.
Yeah, well, he's got that statue there.
Aussie music on.
Yeah, he's got that statue there to remember him, like, in his heyday, just near the corner hotel.
I remember what he did. I can talk about, with Elton John, whatever. No, let's not talk about that. We have the good times. Right. But yeah, so, all those B-boys were, and respect to all the B-boys I didn't mention from that time. But to me, like I said, it was Dynamic Rockers, Rocksteady Crew, and New York City Breakers. They're our holy grail, right? And they used to rap a little bit too. They were on some rap records too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The New York City Breakers. Well, Michael Holman from New York City Breakers was the manager. Now, we talked about Malcolm McLaren was with the Sex Pistols.
Yep.
Managing Sex Pistols and Public Image Limited, right? Then it was Johnny Rotten, with Johnny Rotten did that track with...
well, he was the Sex Pistols.
Well, Africa Bambaataa in 84.
Yeah.
And he was like that song. It says the world destruction, your life ain't nothing. The human race is becoming. You like my Pommy accent? Yeah, that's what it is. Johnny Rotten.
Yeah.
So that was that track was big.
Yeah.
And that was a good, because really, the way I look at it as I had to say it, like hip hop was like black punk to me.
And it was for
Was it not?
Soul Sonic Force was
How do you
like
think
that as well.
Someone from the Zulu Nation hooked up with Johnny Rotten. They're two opposites, but they came together and like, we got some stuff in common.
Yeah.
So that was just sign of the times, what was happening, okay? And of course, Michael Jackson, Prince forever. Madonna, New Romantic. That's where I come from.
Yeah.
It's just as simple as that.
And what about the Rapture? When does that come out? Because that's got a little rap in it.
Hey, give me 5. Rapture, that's 1980, right?
So that's got one of the first raps ever, even if it is from a blonde chick.
It is. No, it is. Well, there's more. There's the raps before her. She just took on the whole New York, sucked it all in, and then said, this is what's happening. And she put it on the map. I'm trying to think of the group that she put on, because she put on a early hip-hop group, and she introduced them on TV. I'm trying to think of the group.
In the Rapture, Fab Five, Freddie said everybody's fly.
Yeah, of course. She was on it early. Yeah. But Fab Five Freddie was in the film clip. Lee Quinones.
But he had a
in
show.
The film clip.
He had a show, didn't he?
Let's talk about Basquiat.
Yeah.
Basquiat, all that, It's all that beautiful era, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Before the money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was very raw. That's where I come from. That's the early days. I was breaking to that. I was painting to that. It was Dondi. It was Lee, and it just, and then later on, I suppose music, well, I wasn't doing music just of yet. I said, my brother, I thought of that the other day. My brother was on the Veneto Club soccer field. I think he was spray painting with hairspray.
Is he a little bit younger?
2.5 years.
Right.
But he was doing everything I was doing, because I was the big brother. We were doing the Rocksteady Crew cover. He was doing his version. I was doing my version. I got my own kids. My son, a bit older than my little girl, but she's copying him, doing graffiti.
Yeah.
Same thing, but a bit further on, if it makes sense, right? Yeah. But yeah, so that's what we were doing, and he actually probably pieced even before me.
Really?
Yeah.
With the hairspray?
With the hairspray on the Veneto Club, 83, 84. There was no rules. Like I said before, we were cowboys. We were making up our own rules, but of course we were getting the rules from New York. Everything that we did came from New York. It wasn't from anywhere else. It was very pure.
Very pure.
We got it from New York, straight direct.
And then
as the records from Central Station, straight New York direct. Same thing.
Yeah, but so if we're sticking with the timeline,
Yes.
85, Subway Art comes out.
Yep,
You get
85, 86,
You
yep.
get your hands on that, and that's a bit of a game changer because you start to see...
Game changer for everybody. Come on.
Right.
Everyone was like ripping it off, getting influence, whatever you want to call it, we were at the very bottom stage of, what we were trying to get our own style. We hadn't really connected our own style yet. We were just getting there. So Subway Art came out, most racked book ever in history, and for what reasons. And everyone, it became the Bible, and we never had a Bible before that. We only had movies. So the book came out. That was strictly graph, right? All the greats of New York were on there. Okay, from there, we have to talk about just before that, the graffiti greats I didn't talk about. Mm-hmm. I talked about the B-boy greats and the B-boy writers. Future 4, Australia, Melbourne greats. Yep. It was Future 4, then USA Crew, right? Some of the same crew went to USA Crew. Same crew just about, right? Mm-hmm. Astro Gaza, all those cats, right? Prime
we're
Style.
We're talking early 80s.
Yeah, we're talking 84, 83. They're in the same age group and elk as me, right? I met them at the City Square. I met them, right? When I was buying hip-hop laces for $30 in 83, 84. You know how much $25 was for hip-hop? For laces. We couldn't get hip-hop laces. I was putting ribbons and punching holes in between holes of my shoes to get that tight lace thing happening. I was doing it with my Converse. Yeah. No Superstar, no Suedes, no Campus, nothing.
Right.
Whatever we had, I think it was the Nikes with the high tops, the canvas Nikes. That's all we had, which is more, breakdance sort of style movie, with the red swoosh.
Yeah.
So
the Blazers, I think they are.
Yeah, Blazers, boom, Blazers. That's what they are. Mm. And my friend bought the Blazers back. Like I remember being at Shoppo, and he goes, I just came out from. My parents came back and they bought me these. They were the grey ones. They were the exact Rocksteady Crew ones, right? I was like, wow, I wish I had them. But, didn't see them for a long time after that. So, so that's what was happening. Future 4, Power Rock, all those early 80s crew that were breakdancing as well, right? And all the first breakdancing guys had also first hip-hop DJs that were there. The Steve Robbins, the Breezes, DJ Breeze. What's his name? I can't think of it right now. Floor Prince, which was it was a DJ too. Mm-hmm. He was a B-boy DJ. Choice Cuts was DJ. Floor Prince was Choice Cuts.
Changed his name.
Yeah, well, as a B-boy, he was Floor Prince. Mm-hmm. DJ Choice Cuts. Incredible.
Both good names.
Yeah, good. There you go. Even for back then, good names. Yeah. Choice Cuts. Give him respect. I looked up to all these. They took me in, and they taught me the ropes.
Were they a little bit older?
About maybe a year older.
Right, which is a lot when you're 14.
Yeah. And I went to their house, and they showed me all their collection and what they were doing, and that was like early days. Mm-hmm. And then the whole time I was doing I was more B-boy. When the B-boy thing went out around 86, the movies dropped off. I mean, Hollywood killed it off because they just saturated too much.
But fads were happening though. People thought it was another fad, didn't they?
They thought it was a fad. That was hip hop. Just
it was
so
like yo-yos or skateboards. They thought it was just gonna.
Don't look at your Biggies and all that now, and your 2-packs. Before that, it was a fad, right? And we're going to talk about early West Coast too. The glove, Krista Glove Taylor. Once upon a time, a DJ's task. Reckless on the breakdance soundtrack. Ice-T over an electro beat, 84, 83. And he was actually doing stuff with the early Prince producers, Jimmy Jam and Lewis.
Really?
The time.
Yeah.
One of my favourite groups of all time. You look back and I go, God damn, that's why they're on that track.
Yeah.
That's why it's as funky as it is.
Yeah. Because it changed then because the production equipment changed as well, right?
Of course.
808s and samplers start to happen, and then music doesn't know where it's going.
Well, the samplers was later, a bit. We had the Australian sampler. I'm trying to think of what it was called. There was the big sampler, the Fairlight. It was made in Australia,
That was one of the first, yeah.
So when you hear Yes, Owner of a Lonely Heart, they're sampling with the Fairlight. Mm-hmm. That's 83.
Yeah.
Somehow that was in the mix too. I was dropping all that stuff back then, And but the samplers didn't come till later. That's like a bit later. The SPs and all that stuff a bit later, But we'll just keep. Where were we? We're
86.
86. 86. I'm just graffiti there. I'm just graffiti. I'm just Eraser. The graffitiers Eraser, and then from I was doing graffiti, breakdance graffiti, a bullying underneath the bridge. First guy, Manningham Road, Vivo Boys, doing all that sort of stuff with my B-boy crew. Fabby D, rest in peace, my boy. He lost him many years ago. We were a team. And then it was like, I'm trying to think, 86. I was just getting out there trying to meet people, trying to find who, USA Crew and all these guys. Around 86 is where I met everybody. See, at the same time I was doing all this breakdancing, I forgot to mention MS-70, the Pop Locker. That was my crew, SDA, Subway Display Art. So we were sort of in that era, around about Future 4 era. But Future 4 they were the guys to be. We were just little guys coming up. So we're doing little SDA pieces here and there around Canterbury and all that. And we were coming up, and I think I was Eraser still then. Yeah, I think I was Eraser. Before Peril. That's why I'm saying that name, Eraser.
Yeah.
The tag.
But what's your break-in name?
I was just like, he was Pop Top, I was Blimp, I think it was.
Blimp?
Yeah, I don't know why. It sounds fat and ugly and blobby.
Well, it's a weird one, isn't it?
I know. I don't know why the hell I thought of that tag. But it's next to my piece that I've got, the future piece I've got from 84 that I've still got framed in my house. It's the first outline I did properly filled in. You know what I mean?
The raw brick?
Raw brick. The first piece I ever did, I never got the photo of. Because we had the old cameras, you put the film in.
Is it out there at all?
No.
I
got the original outline. I haven't got the photo to the original outline.
Sometimes on this show,
it was Bulleen Road Bridge, underneath.
All right. And what, we're talking 84. Because sometimes
83, 84,
people have sent photos in of the show. You don't think?
If you've got that photo, give it to me. I would love to see it. But I've got the original sketch, but the next one was at Clifton Hill. Fabby D, I won't say how we got there, but it wasn't, I don't think it was totally legal. But we got there, and we did the piece on Clifton Hill.
Yeah.
On the back of that wall there. And
what's that, 85?
No, this is 84.
84.
I got the photo of that with my little pose, my little, Kmart spray can, whatever it is. It looks like straight out of breakdance. And I got the flicked hair with the peroxide, And that was then. So I went to the 86 stage. I was just coming up, and I was just getting to know people. Meet Astro Gaza, Bondi. A bit later Paris, about 86, 85, 86 at the Chatham Wall. He was orchestrating the wall. LL Cool J Radio was playing on the Ghetto Blaster. I remember it vividly.
Yeah.
They mean nothing to some people, but the people that know.
No, it's painting a picture for me right now.
I'm trying to paint a picture. Yeah. All right. And he's like there going, this goes there. And I met Paris, met everyone there, all that sort of side of town.
Was he writing Paris at this stage?
No.
No. What was he writing?
I think it was Chime or something still.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Blimp and Chime just met.
Yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't sound that iconic.
It was definitely Eraser.
Eraser.
Like Eraser.
Eraser and Chime.
Chime met, yeah.
Okay.
I don't think he remembers much of me meeting him then, but I remember.
I've got to get him on here one day, man.
Yeah, we'll get him.
Yeah.
And then I just started meeting USA Crew and started getting into the inner circle of, they knew me, I did pieces, I was getting a little bit of respect, Are
they a little bit older or the same?
No, same. Some even younger.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
But just from different areas.
Different areas, different...
Right.
I was all city. Where I came from Bulleen with the nose train track, and I was just getting out on the trains and meeting up everybody. Yeah. I used to meet Say out and, I don't know, down his way, another rider. No one talks about much, but he's a dope rider. And, all these cats. I can't mention everybody because I just can't remember.
Did it help you? By not having a line, did it help you more, like spread yourself around and get around more than staying on the one line?
Well, I got on that racer that my dad got, old secondhand racer, and I was riding around at night.
Yeah. Yeah,
shouldn't have been, with a bag of paint.
Yeah.
And I was getting to where I had to get, which is usually Canterbury.
Yeah.
That way.
And then you got the train.
And then on the lines, I had access to the lines then. Mm-hmm. And trains weren't going at 2:00 in the morning.
Uh-huh.
Then. Now they are. Yeah, then. So
was there any yards then?
I was meeting up with MS-70, me and him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was yards. Of course there was.
But are they locked up?
No.
Yeah.
So you got to understand, when we used to go into the yards, then, not now, and respect to all the graffiti artists just killing it at the moment. They're just doing panel after panel, killing it, right? Word up to them. I'm only talking about my era.
Mm-hmm.
What was I talking about then? I lost track of
the yards. Back
yeah,
then.
we used to go in with ghetto blasters, some people. in the day. Like the danger wasn't apparent to us. We sort of knew it wasn't right, but there were some guys that just had no idea. But some people did. We got chased and all that out of it. But like the Blueies was, you know, the Red Rattlers before the Blueies. It was Red Rattlers and Blueies. Both got pieced. You know, I at least I get, you know, I'm going, oh, well, man, I hit a couple of Blueies. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
And yeah, got some good photos.
Yeah.
You know, would have liked to do more.
Yeah.
But that was that. Then they took the Blueies off.
And that's when the Red Rattlers come in.
No, Red Rattlers before.
4. Then the Blueies. Then we get to the Hitachi era.
Yeah.
Okay.
Comegs. I think it's Comeg and Hitachi. Is it?
Okay. Yeah.
I think it's that order. Yeah.
The steel's
But
different.
all I know is the asbestos in the ones they took off had to go.
Right.
Had to go.
Had to go.
It was in the train,
So yeah.
as you know.
That's it. So then 87, are you thinking about music or you just consuming it?
Now 87 is when 86, 87. I was always collecting. What I didn't say to you.
Yeah.
At the start, I was always collecting records.
Right.
From the beginning of, you know, Brash's,
Yeah.
the 45s, you know, the top 40, getting the Michael Jackson, whatever I was getting everywhere, scratching, trying to scratch because I saw DST on the awards ceremony,
Hancock.
Herbie Hancock,
Rocket.
you know, the DST's a DJ. That changed my direction totally.
Do you remember the scratch pattern of that?
Yep. Something like that.
That's
you know,
about right.
It was funky as hell, right? Because they were all funk. They were all funk dudes.
Yeah.
You know, they're on celluloid records. They all came from the funk and jazz, and they were very. And of course, Herbie Hancock's jazz. You know, they're personified.
But it's all crossing over because it didn't really know what it was. It was a bit of everything. It's a bit of rock. It's
Talk
a bit
about taking a chance. Herbie Hancock took a big chance, but that was #1 worldwide instrumental jazz, funk, electro.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, I think I've said it before, but like the electro was getting done by musicians from the 70s. They were programming the keyboards.
Yeah.
The drummers were programming the
The
drum
synths-
machines.
The synths and yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Greg Fillinganes, you know, the Bernard Purdy's, you know, whoever it was, Jeff Porcaro, whatever, you know, RIP, you know, all those sort of whoever it was. So that's what was going on. I was always buying music in the 80s. World famous Supreme Team. That was the one I cheese grated the bottom off because no one told me you had to have a slip mat. So I just started cutting it. I ruined it in 2 seconds flat. Still got that record from '84.
The other side would be all right.
Other side was all right, yeah. I don't know if I turned it and flipped it and scratched that side too. I stuffed that record so bad. But I didn't have anything to look at.
No.
I took the rubber off, of course, because it wasn't going to slip. Later on, we were all using the inner sleeve. We cut out the inner sleeve of the plastic
Yep.
and put it on top of the turntable, and it would slide.
Yeah.
No one told me that.
No one knew.
I didn't even ask.
You need a bit of felt.
You need a bit of felt, you know? So that's what was going on. So we went from there. So I was always DJing, buying records from the whole time I was doing my graph thing. The
Did you
whole
have
time
two
musical.
turntables?
No, one.
One turntable.
Okay, now you should mention that.
Yeah.
And I got the photo of it too to back it up. I've got the Sanyo 3-in-1 cassette, radio, turntable, belt drive.
Yeah.
Belt
right.
drive,
Yeah.
no direct drive.
No direct
right? I pressed all the buttons in with the inside of the pens. I jammed everything, and the one button that came out, that's how I got my first crew. That's how I got in Big Pacific. They came to my place to check me out DJing. I had my 3-in-1 with my Tandy electronic realistic mixer, sideways. Didn't even have the good one.
Because
I
that,
don't think
didn't have a crossfader, the realistic
No,
one. It just had the up fader.
I went up and turned it sideways, right? That's what I did, right? And I was like cutting up with the button, with the transformer button. I made a transformer button, and I was like, I was doing transformers with the button because the button would stay out, it was spring loaded, so you hit
like
it,
a
it'd
kill
go in.
switch, sort of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But it was real nice. It was nice and springy.
Yeah.
So I did that with my little crossfade, and I got in the crew, my first crew. That was a bit later. That was about 87, 88.
Right.
I might have jumped a bit there.
But you're buying records and so are you recording? Could the tape
I
deck
mean,
can record?
me and Justice J and Johnny Jewel did a bad rap thing in '88. It was a bit of a fun thing. It was like a joke. He still got the cassette somewhere.
Wow.
And I was playing like, you know, some really bad gangster wog. And they were just, you know, Justice J rapping. I don't know if you can picture it. He was rapping on it. It's out there, man. It's there. Someone's got it. I think I've lost it. Anyway, on a 4-track, because my brother got my first 4-track, Tascam, Port 05. He knew I was going down the musical way. One day I come to my house, he's got a Tascam for me. I got it from my mate. Don't know how he got it. There it is. Right? I get the sampler hooked up. This is all like 86, 87. I'm starting to, cut my teeth on how to make a song, bass line, beat. I get a little drum machine. I get some loop some stuff. I got a sampler. I can't remember what the sampler was. I do remember the sampler that I did get from the back of Source magazine, one of those. They sent it from America with one sample. I put the 808 drum machine in, and it just had the 808. And I used to go around in the first subbies around Melbourne with the back seats pulled out of my car, my Commodore VB, and I used to do the 808 drum machine.
Because you would have been 18 in 88.
Yes.
Yeah, so you got your license. You can take that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then before I had the Valiant VF two-door coupe red one. That was sick.
Imagine you kept that, man.
Damn. Who knew? We were just young, had nowhere to keep it. I wish I kept all that stuff going. Anyway, that's that. And I was starting to get a taste for making music. And then I met Nemo and Nui came from New Zealand. There was New Zealand guys, Cook Islander and a Maori guy, both journalists. And we started a group called Big Pacific.
Big Pacific.
Or the Island Boys.
The Island Boys.
Yeah, and we were playing live everywhere. And I told you, I got the gig from them coming to my place, watching me scratch. I had to show and prove, right?
Right.
That's hip-hop.
Yeah.
Show and prove. Don't talk it. Show me the piece. Let's hear the song. Let's hear your lyrics. Yeah, that's how it is. And, we're playing everywhere. Chasers to wherever. Inflation, we're playing everywhere.
With their equipment, or you'd take
mine, I think I had my first Technics 1200s. Because, here we go. My first record player was I worked it out before on the way here too, 1400.
1400.
With the pitch control with the knob.
SL 1400.
SL 1400. Look it up. It's a real deal.
Yeah.
I bought it from someone. I think someone had a collector's corner. He goes, someone's selling a turntable. I think it was $100. I go, I'll get it. And it had the motor, even though it was I think it was semi-direct drive, it just didn't have the torque.
No torque.
So when I was cutting my first Big Pacific cuts on the demos that we did that we never put out, I was pushing it.
It was lagging, yeah.
It was lagging, exactly.
So for people that don't know, we'll just let them know. The direct drive means that it's powered like a motor, but if it's a belt-driven one, it's like a rubber perishable belt, which takes a bit of time. So when you want to scratch, you need a direct drive turntable.
Just ask Jared. Jared will tell you.
Jared will tell you the mechanics.
He knows all that sort of stuff. What up with Jared? He was a bit later on, but so that's what was going on, and then we almost got signed to with Neil Bradbury back then.
So I'm not familiar. Who's Neil Bradbury?
He was with a label. Can't think of the label.
Like a big, like national, international.
It was an Australian label, right?
Okay.
He was looking after the big bands,
right?
Everyone. And I think Split Ends even.
Right.
I think he was looking after people like
that.
that.
EMI maybe.
One of them. I can't think. And he heard our demo, and he actually died around the late 80s in a car crash. We were going to get signed. We were about to sign the
contract.
Yeah.
And then he passed away.
And as soon as your boy, the champions at the record company's gone, you got nothing. Hip hop wasn't big then, right?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, what could have been? Anyway, it didn't happen. That's a true story. You can look it up. He died. Right.
And those guys went on to make more music, or they just followed the journal. The
Nemo.
The other Island Boy.
Well, Nemo did the first. Nemo, the MC, the two journalists. Nui didn't. Nui. So just a bit of backstory there. We were produced by Ollie Olsen.
Yes.
And Gus Till.
I know. Yeah. So Ollie.
Michael Hutchins and
Max Q.
Max Q.
Yeah.
And
Ollie just passed away last year, sadly.
Yeah. R.I.P. to Ollie.
Yeah.
And I remember going to Lygon Street, and he had the little studio there, and they were doing Max Q. Mm-hmm. They had the guitarist. I think he was in a wheelchair. He was playing the guitar. Yeah. Sometimes. You remember that song?
Yeah.
And we were just it was just all happening all at the same time. And then that never panned out. We never made any records with because if you see the first 12-inch, which is Park Bench Royals by Nemo, Gus Till's got his name written on the bottom.
What
on the record.
year is that?
Well, it says like I said, it says 89.
Right.
But I know for a fact that they did it in 88.
Recorded in 88.
Yes. Right?
And is that one of the first Aussie?
It's the first Melbourne Victorian hip hop ever to be on wax ever, right? Later on, I became the DJ with Nemo. I was a DJ and a producer of Nemo and Nui in Big Pacific. I was producing.
Yep.
This is when I started cutting my teeth in production. And I used to go to some guy's place. I'm trying to work out this keyboard guy who I was sampling. I was telling, can you sample this on your keyboard? I want to put this beat over there. And I was sort of, I didn't know how to go about everything, but I went for it, you know? And yeah, that didn't pan out with the Big Pacific thing. But and of course there was Just Us from Sydney, which was the Sydney version of their first vinyl release ever.
What year was that, do you reckon?
Same year. It just came out like a couple of months maybe before. I'm thinking.
Right.
But there was different styles.
And that
was the 808. We're talking Just Us 808 drum machine rap over the 808.
And Death Wish Cast aren't that far after?
They're coming up.
Right.
They're around.
Right.
They're very piecing, but that was the vinyl before them. They come. Rosano from Sound Unlimited posse, Sydney. They were all writers as well, because I always say the writers were very involved in the music as well. A lot of the writers, with West Side Posse.
Yeah, well, it's like the breakers became the writers, and then the writers became the rappers.
To a large degree. Not all of them, but a large degree, And, we had, I suppose from there wasn't much music in between. The music coming up between then, I'm just trying to think. There wasn't any, 88, and I suppose 88 was the year then music kicked off. It was AKA Brothers, Rise and Tarkey, Pac, and Phil, and that's there was Southeastern Cats, Hills Posse, because I remember, because Central Station Records was the guy that put out, they put out the first 12 Central Station Records.
And what year is Central Station Records? Because I'm only born in the 80s. What year does that actually sort of kick off to the point that you can go there and just buy hip-hop records?
They were probably around since, must be on the cusp of the late 70s.
Right, but not doing hip-hop records until mid-80s?
Until hip-hop became a thing, and they were buying straight direct from New York. Every 3 months, they go to New York and bring pallets back. And if sometimes you didn't have that record, you wouldn't see that record. If there was 3 copies, you mightn't see that record ever again, or you mightn't see it for another 20 years. That's how they were just getting small amounts of increments. You know what I mean?
So if you were there and you found something that you thought you'd like, would you listen to it, or you just buy it on a whim?
No, I'd listen to it.
Make sure.
Yeah, I was spending every cent known to man on that at that place. I had nothing. It drained me. And so that was that. And then
were you looking for samples then, or were you just looking for hip hop to consume?
At the start, it was hip hop records. The sampling it probably didn't start till I started getting into the production. I think 85, 86. I started going, that's what they do. They sample this, they sample
and
that.
you've already got a record collection with your 45s and your commercial stuff.
I've already got some of the collection. You know what I mean? But it was a very bareback, average collection.
Better than most though, if they haven't been collecting.
But it became good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that I was just I was doing my apprenticeship of everything, from graffiti apprenticeship to production. I used to dabble in MCing. I'm not an MC.
Can you give us a little rap?
I can't give rap exactly from that era. I mean, like on 1200s I was doing it because I'm a B-boy and I like to make noise. Making fat beats is my main choice because I'm a B-boy and that's for life. When I was younger, I was always getting in strife. I had my boom box always by my side. When I was cruising, I was always in a fat ride. When I was styling, I was stupid fresh. Sporting Cazelle's Cane Gold Fresh. I can't remember the rest.
But that's sick, man.
Yeah.
Can Goals and the Gales, man.
Cane Goals, Cane Goals. I can't remember the rest of the words.
Yeah, that was sick though.
Yeah,
man. But so in that time, in the 80s, you were doing a bit of everything because hip hop was the thing. It had gone out of popularity, right, from the breaking. But then 88, I think Run DMC come to 88, 87, and then it pops off again.
Run DMC. They were always Run DMC has always been one of the first groups I heard in hip hop, other than Curtis Blow and bits and pieces that was played on Triple J or Triple M or not Triple M, forget Triple M, Triple J and all those independent stations, But
I think you mean Triple R.
Triple R.
Triple R.
Triple R.
What was the guy's name?
Stephen Walker.
Stephen Walker.
So Stephen Walker, Triple R. He was championing a lot of LL, Run DMC. I even heard Mantronics back in. He was a bit of a tastemaker back then. And he wasn't directly a hip hop guy. He was just playing music that he liked. He was very eclectic, you might say. But he took a liking to hip hop, and I would tune into his radio show and record it on my Ghetto Blaster. So the first Run DMC I ever heard and all that was probably from him.
Yep. And then, because hip hop kind of has a bit of a popularity resurgence in the late 80s.
Well, it's just, it was always playing in the backdrop. It just wasn't commercial yet.
Right. Okay.
You know, it was underground still.
Yeah.
Run DMC and people like that help it go to the next level. You know, as much as, you know, Salt and Pepper even did, you know, I suppose, you know, because they were the female version of Run DMC in a lot of ways, you know, and they were dope at the beginning.
Yeah, man.
They weren't trying to be rock stars or anything. They were just making music from their area, and it just happened to take off, which is the whole story, you know, Rap with Rapper's Delight from the beginning.
Yeah.
That just blew up and sold over 5 million copies. And then it was like, oh, there's something in this disco rap sort of thing, you know, because it was disco rap from the beginning. And then it sort of like morphed into like drum machine rap, and then it was like funky sort of rap, and it was sample rap, I don't know, and then wherever we are now, I'm not going to go that far yet, but I'm talking 80s.
80s. All right, so let's talk about the graph in that stage as well, because you go from Eraser to Peril. Now, tell us about that transition.
Well, you know, after I met Paris, and I ended up going to Swinburne Tech, and we hooked up, and that was the writer's school of choice.
For many generations.
My parents didn't know that. Why do you want to go there? I want to go there. I think.
So you went from a private
I'm not going to be a
there.
doctor. Save some money. They actually listened to me for once, and went there, and everyone was there. Prime Style, you name it. A lot of big writers were there. You know what I mean? USA Crew. They were all there. We were never at school anyway. You know, pretty bad to say, but yeah, we didn't go to school as much as we should have, because we were our graffiti-soaked brain. It was like, you know, racking, do an outline. I'd be up all night doing mixtapes. Hey, Paris, check this out. You know, because I was DJing. Remember, I was DJing the whole time. Music, graffiti, break. It was all intertwined with me. I was living that lifestyle. There's nothing else in life but that. And we started like doing some stuff on the lines together, doing outlines, and I came up with a group called C2F, Claim to Fame. That was about 86-ish, just before. That was just before Swinburne Tech, but we really got busy when I hit Swinburne Tech. Yeah. Because we were at the same school every day, 5 days a week. We'd meet up.
Train station's right there. You go every line.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
USA Crew was doing pieces on Glenferrie Station. You know what I mean? It was everywhere.
Yeah.
And
you changed then from Eraser to Peril?
To Peril, and because I was Peril then, and well, Peril was always the legal name. I had some underground om de plumes that I can't say. So me and Paris were leading a double life. We had our underground stuff we were doing, and our legal stuff. C2F, and there was DMA and everything else.
Right.
Yeah, SDA before that. Right? And so that's how we did it. So anything C2F is definitely mural legal.
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to go, we didn't go and do it on the walls. That was silly.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, like on the tracks and, you know. So C2F was our you know, more our professional sort of graffiti sort of thing.
Yeah.
And we were getting up, we were doing pieces on both sides, you know, underground and legals. And we were just getting up and we were having a great time, and we were living that life, you know, 7 days a week, painting, and we ended up doing a couple of things, there was that show on ABC, they had the graffiti battle against Sydney and Melbourne. We were on that, the factory battle. We were on a couple of factory shows. That was the show, the music show. One as the Melbourne Graffiti Cats, along with other people, you know, that was there that day, and we were crossing over to Sydney, and they were going back and forth. Whose piece is better? And we were just having a bit of fun with that. That was a fun sort of thing. That was around, I suppose, 87, 88. So it was 87, 88. And then there was like Yeah, Double O and Velour were on the Factory, I think it was too. The first hip hop group that ever came to Australia on Virgin Records. They came with Days, the Riders Days, and Phase 2. And everyone went to Checkpoint Charlie just to see Phase and Days, not the rap group.
And tell us about Checkpoint Charlie for people that are too young.
It was just next to South Yarra Station there, you know. Yeah, it was just like a lot of riders that went down there to see.
It was just a nightclub.
It was a nightclub.
Was it? Did it become Warehouse, or was it that one?
I think it might have been.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think now.
Near the Fun Factory there.
Yeah, it was a bit further. It was right next to the tracks though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's. I don't know if it's there anymore.
Okay.
And everyone came to see. And Paris. I remember Paris did a piece of art for him and gave Days that in 87, 88 when they were here. Might have been 88. It's on the cusp. And Paris talked to him years ago, not long ago, and said, "Paris, I've still got that artwork you gave me when we went to Melbourne."
Oh, what? Amazing, man.
Yeah. So that was. I don't want to jump too many sort of bridges there.
But you and him are then properly linked up doing
We're
your
linked up.
legals.
We're in it.
You become a duo.
Now, we're a duo. We're a duo.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone put us together. You know, we're always together. We're always doing everything together. And we were the yin and yang to each other. You know what I mean? And, you know, we're wearing fresh gear. Oh, man. We look like we were rolling, but we weren't. We didn't even have $2 to buy a meat pie.
But you look fly.
Oh, we look fly. Because we were like in that mix of that 87, 88, Cash Money, you know, and Marvelous Runners, Nikes, and all the tops. We were dressing up like that.
Were other riders down with that, or were they like, man, you're looking a bit too steezy? Even
We
though that wasn't a
we
word.
were pretty steezy.
Right.
We were the steezy of that era.
But back then in the 80s, a lot of riders looked kind of let's say, boganish.
You said it, not me.
But they did.
But yeah, we were sort of like, they were like, where are these guys coming from? They didn't even know where we're from. Are you from here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that was a lot to do with me because I was like, man, we're going to get that top, man. We're going to match with the runners, you know. We're going to make it happen. Get the caps. That was me. I came from a fashion. My parents were in fashion.
Right.
That's where it comes from. My brother's in fashion. He's still got a shop, Chemstar, the guitarist from 1200s.
Yeah.
He's got Boyd, you know, fashion in Fitzroy. He's still doing his thing. Go and check him out. Got some mad stuff.
He did Extinct for a while.
Extinct, yeah,
I remember.
Extinct,
Yeah.
Extinct, Boyd, and so I come from that background. You know, my parents were importing Italian fashion. They were making garments at a shop in Lygon Street back in the 80s. So in early 90s, and so that's where I come from. So we were very very steezy for some people.
Yeah.
But we stuck to it and never deviated from it. It was just, that's what we did from there onwards. We never stopped being steezy.
Yeah.
I'm still steezy to this day.
To this day.
It ain't going to end, all right, till I drop. All right? What for? You only live once, right?
Yeah.
So that was that. And then, we were just piecing. We did a couple of legals here and there. All the hoarding legals, we were part of the youth centre. And they were getting us legals in the city. So every time they were building, they put the hoardings up. We were part of that. But everyone that was anybody was on the hoardings.
Yeah.
Everyone from every side of town, from Southeast to, you know, USA Crew, us, and whoever else. You know who you are.
Yeah.
And
and the Remand Centre's one that gets talked about a lot.
Yeah, I'm on TV. I'm on YouTube talking about that. You know, and with my little Peril cap with the big letters there. You know, with the pimples. You know, that's just how it was. And we're doing a lot of legals, and I suppose it was getting a bit more recognition. I was at the first gallery ever, the first gallery of graffiti in a gallery in the City Gallery in about '87. Adrenaline. I still got the booklet. You know, I was there. Paris was there. You know, and Prime Style. Everyone else that was there. You know, respect. Did a piece. I did a piece inside the gallery. But that was '87. Before, that was like our fashion motor in a way. That was in New York, but it wasn't on the regular. The hoity-toity art critics got us into the gallery because a son of the mother had a son doing graffiti.
So back then, were the people like the other graph guys, were they like, man, this isn't what it's about, but because you did the illegal stuff as well, they didn't really care?
Yeah, we paid it. We were paying dues all the
Dues,
time.
okay,
While,
yeah.
while we were doing the legal, we were doing
So you kept
some
your
other
cred.
things.
Yeah, okay.
It doesn't matter if you're paying dues on the underground, on the trains or whatever walls. It doesn't matter. It was just a thing we did. I wouldn't say I was looking for it, but it came to me. I was asked, and a lot of people thought. A lot of our heroes did that back in the day, and you see that in Star Wars when they're at the gallery. Why not? Let's try it. So 87, 88 was probably when that happened. And that was the first gallery ever I saw in Melbourne. I don't know what the first gallery in Sydney. They have to talk about their own history there. I don't know. So that was the first ever gallery that put graffiti in it. And I'm in the booklet, with some other people there. Paris, everyone else in there. It wasn't anything special. I didn't think what I did was great or anything by any means. I suppose I didn't see the future just there. But there was, then we did things like, what's his name? Jimmy Barnes got us for Barnstorming Tour 89.
Yeah,
we did
wow.
we did the whole
Set.
what do you call it? Their live set on boards. With dye mark, upside down paint. We were doing, the whole. So when they went on tour, they'd pack it down and pack it back up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah.
So we got asked to do that, and we did it in a big hangar in Broady, an aeroplane hangar, because that's how big it was.
Yeah.
And I think Chase was there too. We're up to Chase. What up, my man? He helped us out a little bit too. And it was me and Paris, and I think Nemo from the group PBR Posse, from the first record, was sort of like our agent manager. Yeah, he was a bit of a hustler. Good old Nemo. What up, Nemo? And he helped us. He would drive us to, because we were young, couldn't drive.
Yeah.
He'd drive us out to Broady to do it every day.
Every day.
Yeah. Or for how long it took, you know.
So then, but 88, 89, you become old enough. Are you starting to do club gigs then?
Well, just before that, before we just hold that thought, 88, the Sun Herald, we did the Burnley piece, me and Paris. Mm-hmm. Is it art? Is it a crime? It's front cover of the Sun Herald. Mm-hmm. Or the Herald Sun, whatever you call it then.
Might have been just one or the other back then. Might have been just the Herald or just the Sun.
I think so, yes.
Yeah, and
exactly.
They didn't merge till the 90s.
Yeah. But I'm thinking when they merged.
Yeah.
But we were on the front cover, 88. It's there.
Yeah.
With that slogan, is it crime? Is it art? Which you're still asking to this day,
Yeah.
right? So that was a big deal. We did that piece, and we were there every Sunday where it was, or as many days as we could get off to get down there. And Paris's dad, George, rest in peace, his dad would drive Paris and me everywhere too, And that was a big deal. That might have been at the pinnacle just about of our height of our power.
What about the Swan Street Auctions Wall?
That's what I'm talking about. Swan Street Auctions. That's it.
Okay, yeah.
And Swan Street Auction Wall has history before that, because USA Crew and Paris was there before that, like 86. We're there 88, but in 85, 86, they already done the piece. I went and saw the piece back then, So we were just doing legals and having a good time and, some underground stuff, always through that whole era. And I suppose then we went to sort of like, we met up with TMM, around, this was 87 too, hanging out with Johnny Jewel and his place, thanks to his mum, us little scumbags hang out at his place in McLeod. And, there was a lot of things going on there in McLeod, in the yards, that's all I'm going to say. Enough said. And, we were down with TMM hard, It was Wisp, Puzzle, all those guys come from that era.
Yep.
Area. And, Bias B, all them, just to paint a picture. And we used to meet each other up, I saw some people in the yards, sometimes. We even met up. Outside the yard. It was weird. It was just that culture.
No one was territorial about the yards back then?
Look, we were pretty... if you were hip-hop and you were down with some people they knew, they were cool. It was pretty cool.
Yep.
It was a rough scene. But, and Johnny Jewel was breakdancing before, because I told you I met Johnny Jewel on the dance floor.
On the dance floor?
On the dance floor with Ghetto Rock. His crew came down to, we're going back to 84 now, 84 Venator Club, every second week, like a blue light disco. And he came down with his like solid gold gear with the midriff stomach showing, the ones they used to wear like that. Yeah, I'm telling you.
They used to crop them like that.
With long hair, with the headband, it was like Karate Kid meets something else, No retreat, no surrender sort of vibe, Van Damme, 80s, Canon films which they put on ended up doing breakdance. That was Canon Films.
It was. And because Van Damme's in the background of that.
He's doing that funny Van
yeah,
Damme dance.
dance.
Sorry, Van Damme, but it was a pretty funny dance. Yeah. And all that sort of stuff, you know. So that's where I met him in a battle. So all the Vivo Bulleen Boys battle Ghetto Rock at about 84. But I knew him without knowing him. I didn't know him. I shook his hand. We were very cool. I think they might have burned us that night, you know. And then I didn't meet him till probably 86, 87. Johnny Jewel on the graffiti side of the fence.
Yeah.
Not the dance.
And did you recognize each other? Remember?
Yeah, we talked about it. It was like, was that you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was just like, it had to jog your memory. Yeah, I remember that night. He knew I wasn't BSing because I was saying who was there and on the night, you know, blah, blah, blah. And so we became very good friends with Johnny Jewel and all that side of town, you know, Pudgy, all them dudes, you know, Pest, went up to Pest. And they were down with everybody too, you know, from USA, who was in the hip hop scene or graffiti scene, you might say, we were down with that whole thing under one umbrella. Yeah. You know? And when breaking died, Johnny Jewel was still breaking. We'd go to his house. He would lift me up to keep breaking. You know what I mean? Because he was a quintessential B-boy. You know? I wasn't as good as he was. And, you know, I remember we went to Queensland, I think 88, 87, I can't remember. I was barely 18. And we, you know, man, we went up there with all the B-boy all-stars, went to some jam. And I'm trying to think of who was there. The Fly Girls were there, and all these like first MCs. And he was battling people on glass, you know, breaking bottles to be hardcore. He'd smash a bottle and breakdance windmills on glass.
What?
Yeah, it was crazy, man. I'm telling you, he was a machine. He was into karate. He was killing it back then. He was one of the best B-boys in Australia.
Yeah, I'd love to get him on here, man.
You know, Johnny Jewel.
Yeah.
Respect to him. Haven't spoken to him for a while. I should have get in contact with him. And so yeah, that was that. So back to like the 80s. I think after that, I was in after the 80 Park Bench Royals era, 89. I was moonlighting with this band called Drum Machine, and it was a hybrid band. We were a bit of you know. We didn't really have an MC. It had two drummers, live drummers. I was the first scratch guy, scratching in a live band that I saw in Melbourne.
Yep.
There was no one else doing it, and I was doing that. And we recorded some stuff that never came out, and that's where I cut my teeth on live. My live thing was my scratching live. Yep. Yeah,
you got two 1200s and a proper mixer.
I was like a live percussion turntablist.
Yeah.
A la DST.
Yeah. But you got a proper mixer at this stage?
Oh, man, I got a piece of shit mixer. I don't know what it was there. I don't know. It wasn't a good one.
Right.
It had a crossfade.
That's a step up.
Can't tell you what it was. Could have been anything. It could have been, you know, the realistic one with the click in the middle mixer. Could have been a BVL. It's one of those shitty mixers, right? But I didn't care. I was doing it. I was cutting my teeth. And then I was in another group after that. This is about 89, called Blow Sound Unit, which is a dub reggae hip hop funk. I don't know, I mean, man. And I was scratching and playing congas with the guitarist Dave Darramacina, and his brother, Dave and Danny Darramacina. Danny's still playing guitar. All the funk bands to this day, and funnily enough, he's the guy that ended up producing 1200's first album. Well, engineering it.
By coincidence or because you stayed in contact?
Well, I stayed in contact.
Yeah.
In bands, and he used to. Oh man, we used to have he had wires coming out of his computer. He knew how he was a whiz kid. I don't know, and the computer was crashing when we were making the first 1200 Techniques album. I know I jumped again. It was crashing all the time, but I better go back to it. Let's go back to
1990.
Yeah, Blow Sound Unit.
Yeah.
We were playing the Cherry Tree, not Cherry Bar, Cherry Tree.
Cherry Tree, yeah.
All those sort of gigs, and we had like two, you know, Echo tape boxes like a la King Tubby. We were on that reggae shit.
Yep.
You know, we were just dubbing up everything. Even the MC, Nui Takoha was the MC singer in Blow Sound Unit.
Yep.
There you go. That was like his next step after Big Pacific.
Yep.
That was where he went. Nemo went somewhere else. And we were a great band, man. We were having some great time. I cut my teeth a bit more on there. I was starting to learn a bit more chops. I was involved in bands. How to form the intro, the chorus, the bridge. I came from that band mentality.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because you're loving like Parliament, Funkadelic, and that sort of thing. So you like.
I was sucking it in before the the hip hop production and the way I put that together. But it definitely came from bands. So we put a CD out. Paris did the front cover to it. Mm-hmm. And, that album never came out. Just a couple of CDs, maybe 200-300 copies. The phase cancellation was, I don't know, came out wrong. We couldn't put it out. I don't know. Then we owed money to the, because I think we were up in Chapel Street, Lindsay, that haunted one with the gargoyles on Chapel Street, where Dan Murphy used to be up the top.
Yeah, yeah.
I swear, I didn't even want to go to the toilet at night. I was like, did I hear something? It was just like a hallway. And the toilet was like, I swear, it was like 100 meters. But it felt like 2 kilometers to get there. I hang a piss quickly. I probably pissed myself, And, that's all we did. And we owed money because we went overboard. We thought we were rock stars. And we cut a deal and we paid them the money for what we did, right? That never came out. That was Blow Sound Unit, right? So after that, I got into another group with Dion Harini, the guitarist, R.I.P. Dion Harini. People know from St Kilda, he was a mad guitarist, mad guy. We were hanging out with him and Elvis Elgis. He ended up doing stuff with those, what's those circuses that go all around the world?
Oh, Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah, like that. He was doing stuff with them like of late. And he was the drummer. He could play anything with a rhythm, mate. Elvis is the man. Everyone knows that. And I was in the band as the scratchy boy. I was always the scratchy boy. I call it the scratchy boy. Everyone was asking, Peril, come do some scratches on my record. And I got sick of being the scratchy boy. Mm-hmm. But like that album came out. Roller Coaster put a CD out. I've got it, right? So that's number 3. Now, this is like early 90s. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking, I've got to do my own thing. It's time for me to jump ship. So by the time I got mid-90s, I'm thinking about my own thing. I'm starting to the graph had died down on me a little bit. I was doing more music, right? Mm-hmm.
You're mid-20s now as well, so you're a bit older.
Yeah, I knew where it was going. And I suppose, when 96, 97, I started thinking about the 1200s sort of stuff, but before 1200s. I started trying to get into do a band thing. I was just trying to find who I could bring together to make it happen. And then it wasn't until I suppose 97, 98 at the Evelyn Hotel that I saw Infa from 1200s. Someone, I think it was Dion. Hey, Dion. Dion goes, man, you should come down and check these guys out. They're pretty good. Mm-hmm. Oh, cool. All right, I'll check it out. I came down and I introduced myself. They were doing a couple of, freestyles, maybe, I don't know if they're doing some covers. They were just cutting their teeth as well,
Is it Infa and his brother?
And his brother Kabar.
Right. Who's a bit older?
They got up with Dion.
Right. Okay.
The band live and started doing a couple of verses.
Yeah. And Infa's got the long dreads and all that?
Got the dreads. It's all there,
Is he shaved with the dreads back then?
No.
No, just the dreads.
Dreads. He was doing a bit of modelling and stuff there. He was a good looking man,
Yeah, and he's a good runner. He was good at a lot of things.
Very good athlete, very good runner. And he had a lot of things going. He was very young. So he was cutting his teeth too, straight from Perth. He was from Perth. They were both from Perth, of course. And I introduced myself, and away we went from there. Mm-hmm. So from there, I think I even had a different name before 1200s. I don't want to say it was so bad.
Come on, you got to tell us.
It was sort of, I had a gist. Me, Kabar, and Infa were doing all the B-boy jams.
Right.
So when it was breaking, we'd get up before and be a special guest. Uh-huh. So we'd be in front of that crowd that knew a bit of what it was.
And breaking had a comeback in the late 90s as well. It was real popular.
Yes, it did. From Europe.
Yeah. And
went to Europe.
Yeah.
Later on, I went to Asia. But this is when I was in Europe.
Yeah, and then
you're right.
Yeah,
you know your stuff.
Yeah, I do.
Sorry, I keep.
It had a comeback, and then they did the remix of the Run DMC song, and then the film clip had the breaking, and that really brought it back on a global level.
Well, I was at the God's Bar in Chasers then.
Yeah.
And I saw Run DMC at Metro.
Yeah.
Not Chasers, Metro, I mean to
Metro.
say.
God's
Metro,
Bar was
God's
up
Bar.
the
Not
top.
Chasers, Metro, up the top. I was there for 8 years,
Yeah.
right, with the Francescos brothers.
Yeah.
You know, that was it. I cut my teeth DJing in clubs, you know, knowing how to DJ to the masses. So I was like underground, and I could do to the masses as well. So it was a good thing to have in your repertoire.
For sure.
You know?
Especially, and it keeps you buying records.
That's right. And I was still playing vinyl, everything, you know. And I was playing all, you know, I was there for years, and Run DMC did come there and played one of the first times. No, that was the second time, maybe.
Maybe like
The first time was at
something.
festival, I think it was. Which I talked about with the people about they advertised Eric B and Rakim being the support, and we were like, oh my God, Run DMC and Eric B and Rakim, it's going to be incredible. And then they actually realised after a while they got it, that someone did the artwork wrong. It was Derek B. Yeah, I mean, which is still, you know, he's still good.
Still good.
Well, rest in peace, Derek B.
Yeah, but it's
He
not
was there.
like him.
He was there in '88. Wasn't Rakim, right? And the fly is still going around with that, so it's real. That's what happened, right? I've got the fly somewhere, and so that was that. Yeah, I supported Run DMC a couple of times DJing, and then I ended up doing with Obi, the writer, did the first dedication one in Fitzroy Street in Fitzroy.
Yep.
You know, Kings from Queens, and then we ended up doing
On Brunswick Street, Fitzroy.
yeah.
Yeah.
and then we ended up doing the one in Queens, New York,
Yeah.
for the Jam Master Jay Foundation.
Well, you haven't. Well, hang on. Now we're skipping.
That was
over
about
some-
2002.
But we're on.
All right, we'll bring it back up so I don't forget.
Bring it. Let's no, because I know.
Because I have to link the two together so I won't forget
I
later.
know for a fact that you went with Pac and the AKA.
Right, here we go.
guys,
Yes.
What 1990-ish
Yes.
to New York
on the cusp
City.
of 89, 90,
Uh-huh.
we went back to the Mecca. We had to go back to where it started from.
And you're like
So it's
21 then or something.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's Phil, Pac.
Who's Ransom? So people
Yep.
know.
Yes. Paris, Jewel, and myself.
Uh huh.
Right. I think Choice Cuts come. He might have. But yeah, we went there and, you know, did some trains in Brooklyn yards, the scrap yards, took at the photos, and we met a German guy. Another backpacker. We were staying at backpacker spots, and he filmed the whole thing. It was raining that day. We were doing the Brooklyn yards. He put a paper bag, like a sandwich paper bag, over what he thought was the mic, but it was the camera.
Oh.
So the whole thing's us getting chased and doing the whole thing in a paper bag. God, that would have been the best footage ever. Anyway, we have the footage somewhere. I think Paris has got it somewhere. And yeah, we got chased that day. You know, got hidden by a Puerto Rican mechanic. I go, can I hide there? He hid me. You know, cops kept going. That was we're running wild, baby, in New York. And then
1990 New York though, like that's got to be.
was still lawless.
Yeah.
Pre Giuliani.
Yeah.
It was, you know, still, they had the T-shirts, this ain't Kansas, you know, with the gun. And everyone was getting jacked and everyone was getting, you know, mugged. And I got mugged in New York myself.
You did.
Yes, I did. For weed. Over weed.
Right.
I wanted to smoke some weed. I met this guy. He said, come over here. And all of a sudden, 400 metres from where I'm meant to be. And I'm in this sort of setting. I look around. It's night time. And there's those cut off, you know, those bins, those steel bins. What do you call those big steel bins?
Like a drum.
Yeah, drum. Cut in half with and they're, you know, warming up. And everyone's got the ropes with chains and the tracksuits. It was like out of a film clip.
Yeah.
And it was just not looking so friendly. And the guy just said, you know, all of a sudden turned from friendly to go, you know, give me your money. But the way he said it wasn't like that. I'll probably blow the mic if I, yeah. And he had his gun on the belt there. You know what I mean?
All of a sudden, it come real.
Come real. You know, I wasn't playing no more. You know, I didn't come from that. You know what I'm saying? And he snatched my chain, got my chain snatched. It wasn't that much of a chain anyway. You know, it wasn't anything special. So I didn't. But he got my passport, and I remember I carried $20 worth of dollar notes because they had the dollar notes still then.
Gotta have the
So it looked like a lot of money. It was nothing. It was $20. Took my bum bag. And he took my I go, please, can I have my passport back? I said, I go, no, it doesn't look like you, please. And he looked at me and just went, thought about it, threw it back. and that was it. It was me and Pac.
Wow.
Yeah, me and Pac.
Really?
Yeah.
Because Pac was there for the new music thing.
was there.
AKA, they were doing the
He
new
was there.
music.
We were there.
You were there.
We were there, and we were cheering for him. Yeah, it was a hard one. It was a hard one. You know, it was like, but we were cheering for him. You know, they were our homeboys, and that's how it was.
Yeah.
And they put a decent effort on. You know, it was very hard. You know, that was like the first Aussies over there.
It must have been the first Aussie hip hop to go international to try
Yeah.
and do anything. Yeah.
Yeah. So all the American guys looking at me going, "What the fuck? What's this cheering? Who are they?" You know, because I was losing my mind. You know.
Yeah.
Because it was like 3 or 4 of us. Everyone else didn't know who they were. Anyway, so that was that. Everyone was there. You name it. KRS-One, Ice-T, you name it. They were there that day. West Coast, East Coast, they were there.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that experience, that just made you fall more in love with hip hop when you came back, I guess.
Well, look, at the same time, I was on the mission of the graffiti mixed with a bit of music. Some of those guys was like me too. And, that was a couple of months before graffiti died officially. They buffed the trains totally.
Yeah.
And it didn't come back the same ever again. In New York, we missed it by a couple of months.
Right.
So I was pissed about that.
Right.
Even though we got a couple of trains in, a couple of walls in, met some people. Before that, Johnny Jewel went in 87 because he was the first guy to connect. He met Scene. Scene did us airbrush T-shirts,
Sick.
for my brother. My mum threw my brothers away. He'll never forget that. He'll never get over that.
Wow.
I never get over it. Try getting
You've still got your scene t-shirt.
Still got mine, mate, framed. Took it off. I used to do gigs in it. And one day I was like, oh, it's getting a bit tight. So I took it off. So I sort of had a feeling it's going to be a collector piece, Mm-hmm. I'm not going to get another Scene, custom DJ scratching Peril. You know what I mean?
No.
Nah.
No, not going to happen.
So anyway, that's what happened there. Came back, and I think that other documentary came out. The other doco, the Aussie doco. What was it called?
The Aussie one.
Yeah, video.
Okay.
What was it called? In about 93, 92. And had everyone in it. Had Jules in it. I was in it with my slick back hair. I was talking about, I went to New York and how sad I was that we missed it by 2 months. You can see I'm sad.
Yeah.
I'm also very stoned out of my head.
Right.
But, it was all right.
So weed's been a constant during this time for a lot of people in the scene.
I smoke a little weed. I never went overboard with it.
Yeah.
Still smoke a little bit now and then. It's fine, And, so that, I'm trying to think what it was called.
I'm sure we can find it.
Yeah. So what was happening is, at the time, this lady, I can't remember her name, was making a doco.
Mm-hmm.
And ended up becoming Sprayed Conflict.
Mm-hmm.
That was like early 90s. When we just came back from New York, we were still hanging, we were still piecing a bit with Jewel. I was at his place all the time. And I think he was hanging out with Tiff and Zoe, and Chrissy was there. They were doing pieces too. A lot of the first female doing pieces.
Yep.
And they made a doco called Spray Conflict. You can still find it on VHS. I think it's on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm going to definitely check
So that was about 92-ish.
Yep.
So that was the next sort of phase I remember from. I'm just trying to go through.
Yeah.
And then from there, I sort of started calming down with graph around the early 90s.
All right.
But still doing pieces on the semi-regular, but not to the degree I was doing it when I was just doing graph.
It's in your blood, though.
Something had to give.
Yeah.
When the music and the 1200s came along with Infa, we're going back now to 97, met the guys, got the sampler, another sampler. I can't remember what sampler. Was it a Yamaha sampler? Was it a Roland? Had all the 16 buttons on it. And I did Hard as Hell on there, And this is before my brother was in the group. And we actually supported Snoop Dogg the first time they came.
What's that, like 95? Maybe a bit later.
I can't remember. Can you look it up?
Doesn't matter.
No,
I'm just trying
I got the poster.
Right. So you support Snoop, right?
Snoop and we were nobody.
Right.
Kabar, his brother, Infa, me, double copies of turntables, no backing track, nothing. I'm live, cutting the funk.
Wow.
That's it.
Yeah.
There was just two side to side. The whole, we must have done about 5 or 6 songs.
Right.
And to my astonishment, people dug it.
Uh-huh.
So I'm starting to get a flavour. I'm starting to get a picture of what I can do. And
You called 1200 at this stage?
I think we called 1200 at this stage, yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes, I just coined the name.
Okay.
And then Kabar went back, Infa's brother, back to England, to the UK to live. She's still there. And Infa stayed on. And then me, and then I got my brother in the group. Because my brother, you know, the writer, because another guy comes from the writing background. Everything was connected.
Yep.
Not only was it connected by blood, connected by culture.
Yep.
And he was playing, you know, all the Sepultura stuff and the Metallica and, you know, all the classic 70s rock, you know what I mean? Like I'm trying to think, you know, Led Zeppelin, all that.
Yeah.
He was right into it. Had the hair down to here, smoking weed. You know, he's just he closed his bedroom and just play guitar till he slept. Till he fell asleep.
Yep.
Okay,
Like
well,
you loved hip hop, he loved that rock.
Well, he liked hip hop too. He used to sneak into my room. He was a hip hop guy too, but he played a lot of rock. He was getting into a lot of definitely death metal. So he had it down. He was in it. No, it wasn't part time. He was in it. So when I said I want to get a guitarist, I'm going to get him. So when we did Hard as Hell, what people don't know, Hard as Hell was the one that broke us to Triple J.
Yep.
First 1200 Technique track, right? That's when it was my brother. Kabar was still recorded on that track. So he was on that track, but he'd already left, right, to England. And apparently Black Sabbath, Tony Iommi got at Rubber Records and said, I like that track. He heard it. Someone played him the track.
Yeah. So Rubber...
You're talking about Holy Grail dog, guitarist guy that you come up with.
Your brother must have been spun out.
I was chuffed, to say the least, right? But nothing ever happened to that, right?
But hang on, did Rubber Records service it to Triple J? How did Triple J get it?
Yeah, yes.
Right. So that's
independent.
Right. So they go, hey, they're making this rap hybrid shit. Do you want to check it out?
That was David Vodka, Media Arts Lawyers, and yeah, they sort of gave it to him.
Right.
And he was a lawyer that I used to go talk about, you know, legal stuff. And then he goes, oh, by the way, I got a label. Really? And that's how it happened.
Right.
Yeah, just got to be at the right place at the right time, I suppose. And we've been mates ever since. Had a coffee with him a couple of weeks ago. And we went from there. And we got the record deal. I think we were distributed eventually. I don't know if it was the first record, might not have been distributed by Sony. But we were on independent, only distribution. No, that's the second album.
That's the second one. You still got Rubber, and this one's got Sony on it.
Yeah, that
it's
one.
Also got Extinct there as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I got Street Elite up there, everything. I put up all the logos. Like I didn't put up C2F and DMA. Oh, damn it. But yeah, and I think I'm trying to think if we were even hooked up with distribution through Sony back then. Maybe not. I think it was pre. Because remember the EP, we put an EP out. That definitely was not Sony, I'm pretty sure.
Like 4 tracks, 5 tracks?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's and Triple J is spinning Hard as Hell.
Yeah.
Right?
That was the entry level for us into Triple J. And I worked it out because I said all these Limp Bizkit bands are all happening. And they were doing rock hip-hop, but I was doing more hip-hop rock.
Hip-hop with a rock fusion.
I was doing heavy on the hip-hop, lighter on the rock. They were doing heavy on the rock, lighter on hip-hop. That was my take on it, right?
I get it, yeah.
And we came on that tip, and it worked. Because it was, you know, it's Australia. They like rock.
And there's a lot of festivals happening then, tours, and you could rock a stage.
Well, we were playing live shows. We were just getting better and better, cutting our teeth. Then we were playing at, Prince of Wales, whatever it was. And we were supporting the presets and a couple of other bands we got on board, the Regurgitator. And that's how we cut our teeth. We were playing at alternative spots, not hip-hop crowds. And that's how we got Linkin Park. The first tour.
Yeah, wow.
We were supporting the Australian tour of that. You know, I remember watching them. You know, that was awesome.
Yeah.
I was learning. I was taking notes.
Yep.
From live bands. You know, and but they were heavily looked after by majors. They were very controlled to some degree.
Yep.
More than us.
We
were independent.
You were always in, yeah.
And I remember who was it that came up to us to try to put them on their label or on their agency, a big agency, Rock Dog agency came up to us back then and tried to muscle us like, you know, you got to come with us. We're the ones. You know, when after the gig, I remember in a tiny little shitty room, you know, I was starting to work out the record, how the record companies work.
Uh-huh.
You know, who's who was what. And then, after Linkin Park tour, people go, oh, they're good.
Mm-hmm.
What we were playing, picture this, Linkin Park, Festival Hall, and people started sort of like booing us. 1200s this is. And my brother was playing guitar, and they were throwing 50-cent pieces at us. Quite heavy, you know, and cans, and started getting a bit gnarly. And, you know, Linkin Park had the Marshall stack with a belt. You know those belts that you secure things on trucks with?
Like a crank strap, yeah.
Around 20 friggin' Marshall amps and heads. My brother had one, right, with a mic. And Hard As Hell came on, right? And I remember in the middle of Hard As Hell, he's seeing, and Info was starting to lose it too. They were starting to like sort of go into themselves a little bit. You know, I could tell, maybe they couldn't tell. And I just fucking dropped the fucking Festival Hall packed, right, supporting Linkin Park. And I said, fuck you, Melbourne. I said, we're your fucking homeboys. We're just starting off, right? Give us a fucking break. Came back on the chorus on cue. I lost my shit, right? Mate, you know, dun, dun, dun. Nothing. And I said it, and they all, and I said, and also we pointed, I go, we saw the guys who threw it, by the way. You can come and see us later on if you wanna. And they shit their pants, right? Because we called them out. We saw them. We go, you. Yeah. We know who's doing it. Came back on the one, finished, and we got props.
Yeah.
You know, because we weren't pussies. It was more about, I was trying to do a show. I was doing my best. You dissed me. I didn't like it. It was like that. And I saw my brother's face. And after all those guys threw all that shit, came and apologised to us afterwards.
No shit.
No shit. Ask Infa.
Yeah, right.
That's a true story. Looking back, that was psycho. I don't know what I did that for. Lost my shit.
That's what happened though.
But that was, you know, I wasn't trying to be a tough dude. It was just, I had my team. It was my boys.
Yeah.
You know, we're trying to do our thing here. Give us a break. And ever since then, it was uphill. We started playing all the big day outs first, and playing to 15,000 people. You know, this is before Hilltop Hoods. Hilltop Hoods were just starting to come on the scene, and they was, you know, they were in front row looking at us, going, you know, we're going to be there soon too. And didn't they get there? Didn't they? So respect to them. They've held it down since then. You know, way back. And but the live show, we were a role model for some hip hop guys too. Because we had the drummer. We had a live show. We had a very good way of the call and response thing. You know, we had it down.
Yep.
You know, I worked on that with the MC, with Info. I was always, you know, saying we could do this, we can do that, because I was a bit older than, you know, the guys in the group. So I had a good catalogue in my head of how it should be done.
And also the DJ background. You know what people like.
Yeah, well, the DJ was the band,
yeah.
you know, and because at the start it was just turntable. Later on, we got the drummer. And then now it's become a normal thing to have a live band with a drummer, a hip-hop drummer.
Yeah.
But back then, they were saying we weren't hip-hop enough because we were singing, we were emceeing, we had choruses, we had outro, we had bridges. Oh, it's not hip-hop. Because it was just like a couple of cuts over beats back then. But I had that stuff too. But then I had live stuff that we had, you know, and we had a club show and we had a festival show. They were two different shows. So you could make money at both.
Yeah.
There you go. You know, two for the price of one. And sometimes those shows, my brother wouldn't do some of the club shows because there wasn't room.
Yeah.
I just wanted a small show. But sometimes we did. You know, I remember being doing Section 8 and my brother killed it with Infa. No drummer. Richie C, mad drummer. You know, I remember the Metallica guys coming up at Big Day Out, one of the Big Day Outs, early 2000, going, your drummer's he's a machine. And Richie C, he's a machine. We're up to Richie C, you know. And, so...
well, let's get to when... So, Hard As Hell gets played on Triple J, and then that's the EP, right? So then you go to the first full-length album.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So the EP happens. Then we go to the first for Choose One, and then that's got Karma and all that on it, right?
And did you know Karma was going to be the one? Did you think that?
I don't know. Nah,
you didn't.
Well, I just thought it was a good song, and that was the one. I don't know, like that had the legs. I don't know, like I had the flavor. People would, because I had the rock. Again, the rock.
The guitar, the driving guitar in it, yeah.
Had the blues. My brother rocked the blues out hard on that.
So-
Hard. And the solo.
Yeah. So that one you play.
That was like musical. It was like a musical hip hop track.
It is, yeah. So when you're playing that one live, you're like, people like this one. We think we might push this as a single.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. Because I would imagine you get in.
Well, to tell you the truth, at live, Hard as Hell was the one that people liked. Because Hard as Hell wasn't about the chorus, and it was about going hard. So it had the punk flavor about it. You had to almost be hoarse after the song. I couldn't even. It was hard to say anything out because I was screaming my friggin' ass off. So it was infa, and that's what the energy it needed for that song to happen. You couldn't hold back. Hard as Hell. Then it was Karma. But Karma worked well on radio.
Yes.
At a time when they didn't want to hear a straight, direct, hip-hop, don't stop, sort of scratch, beat song.
Yep.
And it had the crazy guitar solo at the end. You know, it was just like Australiana, even Cats and the Rock guys were going, oh, I dig this. This is actual music.
And I think I spoke to Enfer about this, but the way that he calls out every city is something that people would hear that around the country and go like, fuck, I've never really heard people like shouting out our city in a song like this.
Yeah, well, you know, it was a good idea. It was a good idea. Yeah, because we were very inclusive of everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like I said, I did feel the weight of being an ambassador for hip hop in, you know, on TV. I mean, when all of a sudden you're on TV, you're here, there, they're asking all these questions. You got to come correct. And you got to make it so the next guys come through, you know, they get the right idea of what it is.
Yeah.
You know? So I felt that. And I always thought I did a pretty decent job in that.
Yeah, I think so. So that, and the film clip's amazing, right? Stands up today as an amazing film clip.
Michael Gracie, I was saying he did the new film clip for the UK guy. It was in the boy band with the Planet of the Apes. He's a monkey.
Robbie Williams.
Robbie Williams.
Right.
And he did the Greatest Entertainer with the other Hugh Jackman.
Right.
But his calling card that he cut his teeth on was Karma. So it's amazing how something so, you know, before you knew he was great, that was the one.
Yeah.
I knew there was a reason why he was a very talented man, you know, and he did all the puppetry and all that. It was incredible.
And that, obviously, the song's amazing, but that clip helps push it into the stratosphere. Because back then, if you got played on I think it was Channel V or MTV or whatever, you were getting spins.
Yeah. Yeah.
So having a good clip makes a big difference.
Big difference. Big difference. And that was the one. I remember though, I'm telling you that wasn't a very expensive film clip. It was just that we had a lot of people that had this confidence about the song, and they too wanted to jump on to cut their teeth. You know, it was like a sort of thing like, we'll do it once, we'll do your mates rates once, but never again. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That was the one.
So the stars.
So it looked like it was just out of this mind money, but it didn't cost that much as you would think. But people like Michael Gracie was almost doing it for free.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But he got his props in the end, so it all
But at
worked
the end,
out.
he had his little, you know, business card. I've done this, I've done that. You know, he showed a couple of things that definitely would have helped, you know, elevate him. And good on him. He's a mad talented dude, and we were lucky to have him. You know, and so that was that. And then
Did you service that to Triple J?
Yeah.
And did they like it?
I think they liked it. I think we gave them a couple of picks, and they go, "We like that one."
Uh-huh.
Well, Triple J was on our ass hard. Right. We were the Triple J sweethearts of the first hip hop group that was ever. You know, when we did a gig, it was like Triple J presents. It was 1200s. Yeah. Later on, not to be rude, they dropped us like a sack of potatoes.
Really? Okay. Well, we'll get there. So then it gets played on that. I think at this stage, Nova is a brand new station as well, and they start playing it. Because a lot of the commercial stations weren't playing anything really hip-hop-ish at all, and Nova sort of changed that a little bit, and they picked it up.
Yeah, well, I'll talk about Triple J first for Nova.
Yeah.
I was all about independent. I wasn't thinking Nova.
Right.
Just so you know. Nova, no. Triple J. That was the market. They were all turned. They get it. They'll play some cool stuff. I remember I heard Aerosol the first time, their album there, you know, NWA. They were dropping that first.
They were.
On a bigger sort of, you know, station. And I wanted to be there. So we used to do these things where we go play live at people's houses, and they would televise it. You win a gig with 1200s. I remember we were going all over the place and playing in people's living room. And I was sick, like 200 people in someone's house just losing, drinking, smoking, and we were just playing. We set up. They put a video. There's videos of it. God, I wonder where they are. Yeah. And so we were Triple J Presents, and they looked after us, and then they got to a stage they didn't look after us. They just sort of dropped us. It was weird, man. And then
Is it because of... No, but it's probably because they like to...
Well, a lot to do with like after Triple J went Double J.
Right.
On a later date. You know what I mean? They got rid of all their presenters and they made all their presenters younger. And it was like, oh, we're going to have the young people music and we're going to have the Double Js for the older. That's what happened. But they still, but then they were looking after, Hilltops and all that and a lot of other people. Yeah. I didn't like that. I'm going to say on air to you, I didn't like that.
I know.
It wasn't nice.
I get that.
That's potential fraud. I don't know. Shut up. Okay.
I think
turn it off.
I think what potentially might have happened from what is just an outsider looking in, once you cross over to the mainstream stations, then Triple J are like, these guys have gone too commercial. That's why they drop you.
Well, other people went. I don't want to name names. There were other people that crossed over.
Yeah.
I think they found someone to slot in front of us.
Right. Okay.
We're not going to say names.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, that was that. It wasn't nice. I know Infa's not happy about it. None of them were happy about it. They didn't look after us that well. From being the sweethearts to like nothing, to being ghosted. Wow. You know what I mean? Or they play the song, that one song now and then. But yeah, I thought they would have been a bit more,
supportive.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There was nothing we did to... Anyway, that was that. Triple J, I mean, apart from that, I liked them up to that stage. And then they changed their whole format, got rid of all their presenters, and the whole thing changed. Double J will always have us on.
Yeah.
Because they remember us, because they're a bit older.
I know.
But
it is a youth radio station, so you can understand.
No, I understand that part.
Xandro's going to be there for...
No, I understand that.
yeah.
There was just like things that didn't make sense that were in our elk of age group almost, and they were still playing. Yeah. So I couldn't get that. It was weird. Anyway.
There's politics behind all that shit.
Always is. Right?
Yeah.
But enough said, I'm not going to be a hater. And Nova played Karma because we went to when we were in Sydney, and we did like I said, I was like Breakdance 1 when in Breakdance 1 all the jazz ballet people are critiquing Ozone and Turbo to get in the competition to this, like jazz ballet musical, and they're like, what's his name? He goes, Ozone, street dancer. You've seen the film clip, right? And he rips his things off, because they got dressed up in the gear they weren't into, and then they ripped it off and became street again. Anyway, it was like the little street people going to the corporate Australia. Mm-hmm. They weren't hip hop, don't stop. They weren't Run DMC. They were nothing. They were rock dog corporate.
It's
right?
big business. It's not a radio station on the...
So you imagine there's 12, 15 people that we're going to impress live. So me and my brother Infa did this live thing, and we didn't want to do it. I remember Parisi, our manager, Andrew Parisi, and our agent manager. Joe Seg was our agent. Parisi, our manager, and he had to talk us into doing it. I'm not doing this. This is bullshit. I'm not feeling it. But we ended up doing it. That was why we got the Nova, because we went a bit further, but I felt like a bit of a freak show.
Yeah.
Not to be, but it worked. They liked this. Well, I like this.
Yeah.
And that's Nova took it and went top 10. It stayed at top 10, just 10. But that was the first 10 hip hop ever song in Australia.
And then Aria Awards nominations.
Yeah. Well, Aria 2002, before there was a hip hop category, it was 2002 we won the best independent release for Karma. And we won the best film clip of the year. Not just hip hop, best film clip, Australian film clip of the year with Karma, because the film clip was so strong.
Yep.
And it was a good year. I'm not going to say it wasn't a good year. Pretty much the pinnacle. Then we kept recording. We kept playing all the festivals. We played big day outs, and got on stages with crazy people. Playing supports for all types of people. And
it must have been a spin out, because when you started it, you had Enfa's brother part of it, but then the success, he's moved back. Was it a funny time for that sort of thing? Do you feel like, oh man,
We just adapted. we had to adapt. And I do the Jam Master J DJing style. I used to get up and bust a couple of verses. I back him up on all the choruses.
Yeah.
I can sing a little bit. My brother on the mic too. It's like a band, three of you.
Yeah.
You got to do it. You don't have to be the best singer, but when you come as three, it's got a wall of sound.
Yeah.
So that was good. It ended up working out, and then where were we? 1200. Yeah, second album. Second album came along.
This one.
Yeah, that one. Yep. I was just like, I'm just going to do what I'm going to do. I produced the first album, everything. The EP, the first album, Choose One. Consistency Theory, which says it all. I was trying to be consistently decent. And that album, the record company sort of held back a little bit.
Because you're affiliated with Sony by this stage for distribution.
Yeah, a bit more. They had a bit more say in what was going on, but it was still doing my thing. More in the sense of, we want this single, not the single you want. That's the sort of fights you have when you get with the big labels. And we're going to give you less money because we want this single, so stuff you. That's how it becomes.
And you're not used to having these dealings with these, so you're like, no, we just do it our way.
Yeah. And that was a good album, what's that song? Pass me that. What's that song these days? What's it called? There was Eye of the Storm.
And that was the single, the lead out single?
Yeah. I mean, like, but I didn't have guitar in it. Just when you think you got it down, you haven't. But that was just sign of the times. I like that album. Puzzle did all the artwork for us.
And you're still staying true to the Bboy elements?
Yeah, I get using all the people in the scene. And, Puzzle from King's Way. First hip-hop, graffiti, or street art graffiti book in Australia.
Our Subway Art.
Our Subway Art, which is incredible. I thought he did a great job on that. And then, we were touring, and then, I don't know, we got to a stage where the third album was up for the third album, probably 2004-ish, 5-ish it was, yep. And they said, I'm going to dry mouth.
This is Sony days.
Sony. took us to a big steak dinner, and they were trying to butter us up. And they go, we want to do a third album, but we're going to give you a lot of money. Can't say that. Can't say how much. A lot of money, probably the most that anyone would have had then. And it didn't excite me. It wasn't the money. And they go, we're going to turn you into a Black Eyed Peas, basically. And Black Eyed Peas before Fergie was a good group.
Yeah,
right?
they were awesome.
And but with Fergie they were more commercial. I'm not saying bad or good, but that's what they were going off.
Yeah, bridging the gap.
Yeah, they were going for. I think that was the vibe. I think they were going for. And I go, this is not good. We're going to get a girl in, and they go, we're going to get some more production. We'll do some more production ourselves. I'm like, I put this thing together. I put the whole thing. I'm talking the look, the name. I produced every single. I even did some of the remixes, most of the remixes even. And then you're going to take it away from me, the artist. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And that they had the contract, everything out, and we walked away from that. The money.
Were they stunned when you said no?
Don't know. I don't really care. Yeah. It just wasn't. If I'm not in control of my own destiny,
for sure,
as the artist, then what's the point of being there? They were gonna imagine. I can only imagine what could have happened. Yeah. Probably would have gone really commercial and cheesy, and would have been. Oh, that group was good until that third album. Oh, fell off a cliff. But that never happened. Yeah. So I didn't want it to happen. So it never happened.
So you weren't signed to them. So you didn't have to put out a third record. They just were giving you.
They were going to do the re-signing of them the next 2 or 3 albums to lock you in again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Imagine how miserable you would have been.
Imagine. Would have owed them money maybe, because if the first album doesn't click, the second it just goes downhill from there, man. No control. So that never happened. Info went and did his own thing. I went on to do Street Elite. I had my own MCs. I had my DJ Peril album came out.
Yeah, where was that?
And I think I still like the beats in that album. Still happy with that album. And that was slept on. And then again, Nova. Well, it's about to blow now. Yeah. That was about to take off. and they pulled the promo on me.
There we go.
It was going up, and then it just, that's it. Yeah.
Doing your best LL Cool J?
Yeah, doing my very unhappy, mean pose. That was Riz. That was Rizza. Rizza on the artwork. Get on your Riz. What up, Riz?
Check the bling on the back.
Yeah, I had some bling. Yeah. I always had the eyes and the gold chain. You know, plus, you know, like I said, you know, you put WOG and hip hop together, you get bigger gold chains. So that's what happened. And I don't do that anymore. I'm more humble these days, of course. And that was the album I wanted to do. I was just doing me. I was doing the R's. I did not pander to anything but my vision. Okay? Couldn't tell me. It got me that far to 1200s.
Yeah.
You know, I went in with Sony. I went in to get the deal for Sony. Before I had management, I already had the deal.
Yeah.
And then what happened is Andrew Parisi came on board. He just backed it up with all the legals. But I already had the deal in place. He just came and sat with me and just said, oh, we should do this, we should do that, just to make sure all the legals were all good. But I went to bat by myself.
Yeah. And so when that deal doesn't get done, you still own the name, but
I'm talking about at the start of 1200s.
Okay. But then, because you guys never officially...
Because, you know, they go to the record company, they go, there's no singles. It's average. So what do you want it for? I go, mate, there's 6 singles here. You for real? You telling me? Who you trying to hustle? They didn't hustle me, and they knew I had some legs.
Right.
But yeah, at the whole time, they never had an idea how to market the thing. They didn't know how to market it because it was never been done before.
Right.
You know,
but then they see the Black Eyed Peas and they go, oh, maybe
they're looking at it outside the box. You know what I mean?
Yeah, okay.
What can we do? But the rock edge was definitely an edge back then. Anyway, so we get out of the deal. We all go our own ways. We're all still making music. I'm making this album. I did Street Elite. I did love the EP, Street Elite. I think Infa's on there too, on a track. You know, got Surreal and Nate B. I put them on there. And yeah, I spent a lot of money trying to give back to hip hop. And yeah, it just didn't happen. You know, it didn't go.
Music's changing as well, though, like as in the industry's changing at that point.
Yeah.
Mid-2000s.
I was happy with the music. It was just, I outlaid a lot of music, I thought, because you just don't think you're ever going to fall. So you just go, outlay. And you're like, oh, better bring it back a bit. It's getting a bit out of hand. And that's what happened. And yeah, then after that, just put mixtapes out, and then did another. We came together a little bit. Well, we didn't come together. Well, the whole time I was doing club DJ. I'm DJing in the clubs.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm still DJing. You know, 3-4 days a week. You know, Bar Bambi, and you know, Music Room, whatever it was, all the Section 8s and all the, you know, White Hearts, whatever it was. I was DJing all the way through. You
Doing
know,
the circuit.
Plus, I had my own nights. I had my club nights. That's what was fueling me. I was running 1997, 98. I had Planet of the Breaks at the Laundry. Before the Laundry, you know, now. And had the biggest hip-hop night on the Thursday night. Later on, I think Jared had Madisms came on the Monday night, later on. But I was there, and I left there, took it to Scuba in the city, and I went for years.
Yep.
Like 7 or 8 longer. It was like an institution. Everyone that from out of town came to see me at Planet of the Breaks. It was hip-hop, funk, breaks. Bit of neo soul, you know. I had Daniel Merriweather hearing D'Angelo for the first time there, you know.
Yep.
That's what I was breaking records, you know what I mean? I played straight up, nothing commercial. That was the Thursday. And at the same time, I had the biggest R&B hip-hop night. And, you know, Mafia and all, you know, all the other, you know, Miss Risk, they were coming to my nights. You know, they were checking it out. And then they went on to do their nights, whatever, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So, you know, I was just doing my thing. I was doing really well. You know, I had two of the biggest nights, urban nights. I know urban's a bad word. It's a very broad term.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had that.
In the club world, it's been used for a long time.
It can be a very misused word. And just like the word funk, and then I can keep going on about it. Yeah, so that's what I was doing all in that time when I wasn't doing anything. So that's 97 to 2000 and whatever. And then, well, I'm doing clubs right up to it. Then we got together with 1200s. You know, I mean, I did pieces in between too. Of course, you know, A Tribe Called Quest. piece I did for their last album.
Yep.
Katrina got me back there.
You had
from
a
Jive
street
Records.
elite. You had a street elite piece on what was Dakota 501.
Dakota 501.
I remember for many years there on that. And there was a record store a couple of doors down. Was it Hit Machine? Was it called something Machine?
Mighty Music Machine.
Mighty Music Machine. And they had the hip hop out the back in that little back room there.
Remember?
Yeah, man.
But they all knew me. I was dropping money everywhere. I was a fiend. I'm a
Yeah.
vinyl fiend.
Yeah.
You know, because I go back to the days when there was only like 3 or 4 guys collecting the breaks and the funk
Yep.
for the hip hop.
Yep.
So when I was at Collectors Corner, Dixon's, whatever it was, as old record stores in the 80s, I'm talking 86, 85, Johnny Item was one of them. Johnny Item, what up?
Trying to get Johnny on here. He's agreed to do it.
We'd walk in and we'd see each other and we would go, you know, hide the records in spots, you know. And yeah, I think Phil was out there, me, Phil, Johnny Item, not many people out there that I saw on the regular. Later on, it might have been Frenzy later on.
Frenzy, I was going to say.
Later.
Yeah, a bit later, yeah.
But yeah, I didn't see him on the regular there. That was the guys I saw.
He's a tiny bit younger.
Tiny bit, yeah. He's an incredible DJ.
Yeah, amazing.
And yeah, so yeah, that's what was going. That's what was going.
But you guys never, as 1200 never broke up. It just went on a hiatus.
I remember, but before that, we did the Run DMC in Queens too. The piece in Queens.
Oh yeah.
With Obi and Paris, and we had Jam Master Jay's brother Marvin.
After
Watching us do the face. You know, going, he's like, you know, he's very, you know, these white boys, you know. Yeah, anyway, we're in Queens at 5 points. At 5 points. You know, and we got looked after there. You know, looked after us there, 5 points. But it was awesome. And that day we went, after we finished the piece for Jam Master Jay, Run DMC, the dedication piece, we went to the Run DMC launch of this 25 years or something, 30th, maybe the 25th anniversary of the Superstar, whatever it was.
Oh,
and
yeah.
we met, you know, Run. We jumped the line. Obi showed him the camera and the photo. He goes, "We just did this piece for you, man." Typical hustler, Obi. And he goes, "You jumped the line, got the photo with Run, got the photo still, and we met Jam Master Jay's son. That was pretty cool. At Adidas,
Yeah.
Originals.
I do remember
Soho?
when they did that 25 year. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
I've still got the Superstars in the box. You know, big collector of all that sort of stuff. You know, I'm in Sneaker Freaker #1 too.
Yep.
You know, you know when I was collecting all those sneakers. Yeah, so I've always been a collector of types. I'm like a historian in some way.
Have you culled it back as you got a bit older?
Of course.
Yeah.
Got to cull it back or else you get divorced. Wife leaves you.
You know what happens with a lot of people's kicks, though, man? They just put them in boxes, and eventually, a lot of those early Nikes, the sole just disintegrates.
Disintegrate, don't they? Only some of the old ones last, like the rubber ones with the stitching, they last with the leather suedes. Anything else, like with the air thing hanging on the bottom, or it's got a big chunky, that just disintegrates. I've noticed. So you got to wear them, or maybe you got to wear them to keep them alive. Maybe they got to breathe.
Well, they're made to be worn.
They're meant to be worn, you know. So anyway, so that was that. Yeah. So where was I?
Well, we're just talking post
Yeah.
1200.
So after 1200s, then we came back for 1200s. We did a Time Has Come. We've got Ghostface Killer on a track.
Which is a huge bucket list thing.
With
Surely.
you know, a mate of mine goes, he rang me up. He goes, "Peril, you want to do a collab with Ghostface, Wu-Tang?" I'm like, yeah. What do I have to do? And he goes, he's selling verses for this much. And I go, oh, really? Only 12 bars? No, 16 bars, 12 bars? Oh, yeah, well, I'll talk to the boys. And we were not with a record company, really. We was totally independent, right? So me, Infa, my brother, got three-way the money to make that sum. And we made it happen. Came to our place and, an SUV, jumped out and did the verse.
In person.
In person.
Good dude?
Good dude. Great dude. Yeah.
What year was that roughly?
2014.
Uh-huh.
Got the photos. We did a photo shoot, I think he was doing it on the down low because I don't think he was meant to be doing it really. I think You know, but I think he did that in every state.
Right.
Yeah, he was making a bit extra, you know, on the side there.
He's hustling.
Whatever.
Yeah.
And we did that. Got the photos. I put the roller door up at my old place. Took a little photo shoot. So it's me in for him. So that was, at least I got some photos to prove it.
Yeah.
You know, he was there. I got some in the studio too. But yeah, so he, you know, he did the ghost face thing, you know, talking about whatever he talked. I didn't tell him what to say. I didn't say what vibe it was on. He just went and did it.
You played him the beat though, in person? Said
No, we had to send him the beat first.
Right.
So the guy that called me goes, give me the beat. I'll play it to him. If he feels it, he felt it.
Right, there you go.
a
And
good
did you
beat.
think about that might have been another resurgence of 1200?
I just thought it was an opportunity to play with my hero. That's all I saw it as, really. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To say you've done a track with
Yeah.
one of my favourite MCs in Wu-Tang it's an accomplishment.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, I didn't think it was ever going to arise.
Uh-huh.
Even when it did come up, I thought it was BS, but it wasn't. So we got in some game, Forza something car game. We got on there some, you know, got some couple of, you know, a little bit of money, not much. It was peanuts really. But you know, that was on the EP, like a little EP album we did. Time Has Come, and I still like that album. That album was totally slept on. That was a mature take of guys that are a bit older that have been through the ringer and come back and did a hip hop album. There's not many of those.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
People generally just wrap it up and they're done.
That's right. See, you're not looking for a certain age group to start doing original music again. It's very hard over a certain age. They're not looking for you to be doing new, you know, putting new songs on the board.
Yeah.
And when you go and see Rolling Stones, when you go and see all these big bands, right, on a whole different level, of course, you know, Chili Peppers, yeah, they'll play the new album, but people want to hear the classics, man.
Yeah, for sure.
That's how it is.
And all bands struggle with maturity. Like you look at someone like Blink-182, they're like, how long can we talk about dicks and ass for? We're going to have to grow up and mature. And they sort of don't really,
Well, that was the album we matured on.
Matured, yeah.
I don't have any regrets about
That's
that.
your double J.
Yeah, it was keeping it real to the age that we were at.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You want to dig it or not? I just made music for the sake of making music. Got the boys together for that. That was a good little album. I think it's going to come out in vinyl eventually. It never came out in vinyl.
Right.
Talked to Dave the other day. Mike's going to see the light of day. Vinyl of that. Yep.
Have any...
And there's some re-releases of 1200s coming up too.
Oh, there you go. And so has there been any promoters or anything push you to try and do a bit of a reunion tour?
Of course,
They have?
of course.
Yeah?
Of course. Every 2 seconds I get that.
And what do you tell
Wouldn't
them?
it be good? Yeah, wouldn't it? But it's just like everyone's doing their own thing, living life, got to pay the bills. It's a lot of work. Well, before COVID, we made a little bit of a thing. We were going to come back and do a couple of gigs. Oh, look, I'm not never say never. It's highly unlikely. I remember the good times. But our core, even if the 1200 thing, even if you didn't like the music, their live show was our calling card. We had a great live show. And I enjoyed playing live, as my brother did, as Infa did. It was a great live show. We came back with some festival we did in Sydney not long ago, me and Infa, and we killed it. Did a couple of rehearsals beforehand, always got to rehearse. And that was pretty good. Just to get the old flame, you know, the old fire happening again, you know, get that old feeling back. You know, Death Wish Cast were there. They killed it. God, they were awesome.
They're still going, yeah.
You know, Maya Jupiter, all them, you know, and but yeah, got to say what up to Death Wish Cast. They're you've got to get them on. You know?
Yeah, in the work.
Death Wish Cast, old school Maze, Perth, a whole stack of guys, you know, you can get on there, you know, and even Paris and me come back, I don't know, later on, talk some stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically that's it up to now. I'm going to put some music out. I got stuff in the computer catching dust. Maybe clean it all up, put it out. Maybe put it on vinyl. Maybe get it out there. There's a couple of got some stuff in there.
You're going to put it out on Street Elite? Or
I got a track from Cool Keith I never even released.
Really?
Just stuff I've still got that, have I? Yeah. And plus I got the Island Boy stuff that never got released from '88 that I produced and cut on too. You know, so I got some stuff in the vaults. Will it see the light of day? Maybe not. We'll see.
And what about from a production standpoint? If people want to work with you, are you still doing that if you're feeling it?
Never say never. If the right person, yeah. You know, but I got a lot of stuff in the computer I can put out that's decent, and a lot of funk stuff too. Like I've got all types of stuff. Like, you know what I mean? It's hip hop and a bit of funk, a bit of boogie, it's a bit of everything, you know. And yeah, we'll see what happens in the future, you know. And I want to say word up to all the old, you know, the old school guys that I never mentioned. You're not forgotten. Just can't think of everybody's name right now, or else the podcast will go for 6 hours. And all the new school doing their thing, you know, putting in work, you know, respect.
For sure.
You know, Sampa the Great, you know, Baker Boy, whoever it might be. It's a lot more diverse than it ever was. You know, let's keep it going, you know. I can't say where it's going, but we'll keep it going as long as we can, you know what I mean? And to all the new people that, you know, doing their thing at the moment, put some hard work in, rehearse before you jump out there, you know, and you should be good. You should be good to go. If you're real to yourself, look at yourself in the mirror and go, no, I believe myself. They're going to believe me. You have to believe yourself before they believe you.
Wise
know,
words.
Live.
That's
you know,
it.
That's what I think.
Not just in music.
You can't front.
No.
You know, we can only front a little bit before people discover you're fronting. You know, you can't put pictures up all the time. Sometimes people have to see you live, and then you have to show and prove. And that's a hip hop thing. You got to show and prove, or else, you know, you're gonna get torn down
Quickly.
And they don't like that, very quickly and very harshly. It will not be nice. Just know this. And I knew this before I did the music because I come from the hip hop background before the music.
Yeah.
And that's why I know.
I think on those wise words, man, it might be a good time to wrap things up. I appreciate you coming in. Peril, I'm sure we could talk for a lot longer. But, man, this might be the spot to wrap it up.
Yes.
What do you think?
Let's wrap it up because I'll just keep going.
And we can if you want.
No, because they'll bore people. Yeah, I mean, how long can you listen to this podcast for? Jeez. Anyway, but yeah, so that's it. So thank you for having me. I appreciate you. You know, I reminisced on some things I haven't even thought of since I thought of them.
Since they happened.
Since they happened.
Yeah.
You know.
Peril.
Oh, hey, wait, one more thing.
Yeah.
And in the future, I have got something special coming out in the end of the year.
All right.
With a partner of mine. You know?
talking-
Can't say visually or audio. Might be
Okay.
both.
Okay.
Might be both.
Cool. When that does happen with the partner of yours,
Early next year.
would both of you come back in and have a chat maybe?
You're too quick.
All right. Peril, thanks for coming.
Yes, we will.
All right.
Thanks for having us.
Cheers.
Having me.
Having you in the future.
In the future. Thanks for having us in the future.
Cheers, man.
Cheers. Peace.